Hey everyone, we've talked about plugins that help make drum mixing that much faster and easier by taking a bunch of things and putting it into one plugin. Now we're taking that same idea and moving it to guitars. This is Telos Guitars. Hi, if it's your first time here, my name is Tim. I'm a recording and mixing engineer, and I just want to make things easier for you. Today, we're going to be talking about the brand new plugin from Black Salt Audio. This is Telos Guitars. It takes a bunch of the things that you would normally do to your guitars, including EQ and compression and some other little features, and it puts it into one little package and makes things really easy. So instead of talking about it, let's dive into the DAW. Okay, here we are inside of our session, and here is Black Salt Audio's Telos Guitars. Like we normally do in these videos, we're going to go over all of the controls and a little bit about what they do, but if you want to jump ahead to the audio examples, use the chapters down below. So let's dive into the controls, and we'll go left to right, top to bottom, that sort of style. So let's start off with the left-hand side. Up on top, you have your input control. If you need to adjust the signal going into the plugin itself, maybe you just need to drive a little bit more, or it's hitting a little too hard and getting into crazy compression or stuff that we can do later. It gets too much, you can adjust your input sensitivity over here. Underneath that, you have both a high cut and a low cut, because this is something that we kind of do on guitars. We want to roll off the low end, make sure there's no extra rumble and that it's not in the way of your bass. And then sometimes you can do a high cut if maybe the air is too much, or just the harsh, if you have very distorted guitars, is just really screamy up there. Use the high cut to kind of rein that in and pull that top end down and get rid of stuff that you really don't need. Following that, we can go into the top section of the middle here, and we'll call this the EQ section because that's essentially what it is. You can see low, mid, and high. That looks like an EQ to me if I've ever seen one. A basic EQ, but it's removing the parameters that you would see in something like a parametric EQ, or something like really where you can go super fine in, like a Fab Filter, Pro Q, or even just your stock EQ, where you can just keep adding in nodes. This is more just low, mids, highs, but it allows some manipulation. Let's start with the low. You can change it from its default shelf into a peak style, or you can put it back, and then you can adjust where the low frequency is centered using the control underneath. Add, remove, whatever you need to do. I pressed Option on my Mac to put this back to default. That would be Alt on a PC. In the mids, you have a very similar kind of thing. Add, subtract your mids, and underneath you have a tone, kind of shifting where the mid boost or cut will be. And then to the right of that, you have your high band, and the high band, again, boost or cut. And then it doesn't really let you shift aside from either boosting or cutting, depending on what you do here, your presence, that's what pres is, or just the overall top or airiness of your guitar. So this just changes where that high end kind of boost or cut would be. Next to that, you have de-harsh, and this does exactly what you do. Maybe you do need to brighten your guitar and push some high end, but it gets a real fizzy and kind of nasty. You want to use this de-harsh control to start increasing how much it will decrease those harsh frequencies and the stuff that really kind of pokes out and just hurts us. Now let's go to the bottom of the middle section, where we can see there's more of like our dynamics and our extra features. So here we have chug control. Chug control is essentially a low mid compressor, really. That you may have heard of the Andy Sneap trick. It's been talked about for a very long time. Basically, with heavy distorted guitars, if you do lots of palm mutes, that palm muty sound can push a lot more energy compared to when you're just playing notes or open chords. So with chug control, if you have a very heavy kind of chuggy song and it gets real built up in those low mids, you can increase chug control to help reduce when those chugs are happening. And this way it's not overpowering the general signal of your guitar when it's in the chug section versus when it's in the open chorus, we'll say. Next to chug control, you have compress. This is exactly what you think. It's a compressor. This does the entire signal, so however much you're doing. And for both chug control and compress, there is a gain reduction meter right underneath them, respectively. So obviously, chug control, it's that one. Compress, it's that one. To the right of compress is our saturation section, and this is one of the fun little features of this plugin. And we're not limited to one style of saturation. We have 3 different styles using the drop-down menu underneath. We have smooth, inflate, and focus. And really what this does is it changes a little bit of the saturation style, but also where the saturation is hitting more. Because we're on Telos guitars, you can smooth out some of your top end maybe with some of this saturation. You can inflate by making it nice and kind of extra body, or you can focus with some saturation to help bring those mids forward a little. You'll have to play around with these on your session to see which one suits your song the best. You'll see this in the audio examples in a little bit. Next to that, we have an output control, just like the input control we talked about before. Maybe you're now adding in a bunch of EQ, but now it's just way too loud inside your mix. Okay, come to the output, adjust it from here. Easy output control right there. All the way on the right-hand side, you do have an output meter and a built-in limiter, because sometimes with guitars, we need to do some limiting. So here's the limiter right there with just a slider control. And we have oversampling of 8x on or off. That's what you have underneath down here. This in the bottom corner allows you to resize the plugin window to whatever you need. Preset browser on top. That's it. That's all of the controls. We're working with this song called Flawed from the group Sunbreak. This is available on the Multitracks site if you want to try something like this for yourself. And here's everything we have going on. All my greens right here. These are all my guitars. And you can see each one has an instance of Telos guitar right on it. Earlier, I was trying some stuff with SSL, but for this, I actually wanted to switch over to Telos Guitars to really highlight its features, because that's what we're doing. After that, it is going into a bus where I do have a little bit of tape saturation happening. And then, of course, there's mix bus stuff happening. So you'll know that this is what my chain looks like. Let's start things off by where these guitars were when they came in. If I just go in and take Telos guitars off, you'll hear a little bit of the tape effect that I have going on. But I'm also just going to solo my guitars right now. And this is where they're starting from. Heavy distorted guitars, especially in the chorus and what was the intro of this version. But we do have heavy guitars. We have a little bit of chugs. We have nice open chords. You know, a nice blend of different styles in here. We also have some lead guitars. That's what guitars 3 and 4 on the ends here are. They happen later in the song. It sounds a little bit like this. That's number 3, and guitar 4 happens in the chorus. And again, it's like another lead on top of whatever the rhythm guitars are doing. All right, so that was where we're starting with all of our guitars. We know that we have heavy distorted guitars going on. We could do one of a few different things. Let's just go to guitars 1 and 2 and put on a new instance of Telos guitars, and let's dial something in right now in real time. And what we'll do is we'll take the guitars out of solo, and I'm going to mute my other guitars. I just want to work on my rhythms right now, but I'm going to dial something in real time with you guys. Now, mind you, I was messing around with this earlier. I sort of mixed this track, and I just have to blend these guitars into mixed versions of everything else. So let's do that right now. So immediately with minor changes, really, I just boosted some of the mids and adjusted where the tone was in the context of everything else. Then I added some presence because it just needed a little bit more. I messed around with saturate, and you saw I clicked through the different options in here to hear what it was doing and where it was focusing things. And I landed on inflate because it kind of fluffed up those mids and the lower mids of this guitar in a way that I really liked. I know that there are some parts that I'll have to use chug control on, but they're not until later in the song. And we could also do a little bit of compression. I tried that as well, but I really wasn't a big fan. Some of the things I didn't do, obviously, is adjust our high cut or low cut, and we could do that real fast. Maybe we'll just actually do that part in solo so you guys can hear that happening. So is it a very different sound? It's different, yes, absolutely. But we're listening in solo right now. We have to listen in context, so we get out of solo. And you may have noticed I'm just adjusting one, and it's the left for you guys, and same thing for me. And I'm just dragging and dropping this onto my other rhythm guitar. If I need to adjust from there, at least I have a starting point. So here's our before and after of just our rhythm guitars, but I'll take Telos guitars on and off as we're listening to all of our instruments. Am I getting a volume bump? Yes, I am, but I'm not against this one because there's also this very clear shift of pushing things in that mid-range and helping separate the guitars from the bass guitar. And we're really kind of splitting those things out. When we turn Telos guitar off, it's darker, yes. It's a little bit quieter, sure. But when we turn Telos guitars on, just by doing a little bit of mid-push and a little bit of presence and a little bit of saturation, you can see I'm also bringing my output down because I know I'm adding over here. So the volume difference isn't crazy, and I could volume match this a bit more if I needed to. But it's listening to what it's doing to the guitars in the context. Here it is one more time. We'll start with it off, and then we'll kick it on. Really shifting those guitars into a really nice spot to help highlight them. And these guitars also need to fight with not only the lead vocals, which I currently have muted, but I have a ton of synths in this song as well. So you can see there's a lot going on. If we solo out just the synths and guitars, and this isn't even in the chorus. If I was going to jump forward to the chorus, I have like 4 synths that all go in the same part of the chorus. Here it is. So you can really hear it. The shift is a good shift. So there it is. That is Telos Guitars from our friends over at Black Salt Audio, and it's available right now. So use the link down in the description to pick up a copy of Telos Guitars for yourself. This is an affiliate link, and if you use it a little bit, will come back to help the channel. So I very much appreciate that. And in the meantime, I hope you've learned something from this. I hope it's also given you an idea of things to do in your production, and that you're able to help your guitars cut through just a little bit easier. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Happy mixing.